So continuing from the last video, we're now going to blend in the two areas of the darker area and the lighter area of the eye. To do this, we're basically going to dry brush and try to basically create a soft line. So to do this, you're just going to put a very little bit of paint on your brush, and then you're going to basically using a cloth or something. Basically, you're going to take off the majority of that paint, and then you're just going to very gently just run out along that line and basically do what you can to try to knock down the hardness. Now, for smaller figures and such, this isn't that big a deal. In fact, you can get away with not even doing it, as their small sides are going to more or less hide any hard edges just due to the small size. But for larger ones, such as this one, it'll look better if you do this. Now, I'm not saying you have to, but I'm doing it just try and get a little more to it. Alright, and you're just trying to more or less blend. Alright, so I'm going to let that dry now and come back and add in the pupils. So a few days have passed now, and the enamel that we laid down originally has had time to set up, and now it's time to add in the iris. Now for this, you're going to basically do it the same way you did the eye initially, just using a pencil and just sort of draw it in. I would recommend maybe being on the small side, as you can always enlarge it a little when you add paint to it. It's probably better at this point just to give you at very least a good ballpark idea. And you want to do both eyes at the same time so as to try and keep everything nice and symmetric between the two. As you can see, I already did the other eye. I don't know how well this will come out, but alright. So now, again using enamel paint, I'm just going to put a little bit on your brush, and again using a small brush size, and you're just going to want to try and very carefully paint in the iris. Now you don't have to get all of your pencil lines covered, as you can always come back in and just erase it with an eraser once the paint's set up. Again, you want to also check for symmetry. Oh, and another important tip is you do want to try and rest your hand on something to give you a little more support, to minimize any type of shaking and such when you're doing this, as it can be easy to screw up. And you see here, now we've added in the iris. So now we just need to wait a little while, and then we'll do a little finishing touch to it before we seal it. So the last thing we need to do to complete the eyes is to basically add a little dot to each of them to signify a light source. And this has the effect of essentially blending the iris with the rest of the eye. So again, using just a small brush, you're just going to put a little paint on there. Oops, too close. There. And this has the effect of essentially blending and giving you depth. Now the next thing you want to do after this dries and cures up is apply a coat of gloss over the eye, as this will give it the natural glossiness that an eye has. And since in this case I'm going for a glossy finish over the entire thing, I'm just going to airbrush it, but in general you'll have to hand brush this, as typically you want the surrounding areas as glossy as the rest of the kit. Probably the best meaning to do this would be a product called Futures acrylic floor polish. It self-levels, so it makes it really good for hand brushing. But at the end of the day, any gloss medium will do. So I'm gonna let this dry, gloss coat, and be back for I'll do the conclusion next. And here we have the final finished model. It's taking some time, but as you can see, the results are well worth it. Again, end of the day, the techniques and all that I talked about in the last series of videos are really can be applied to any project. I merely selected this one as I felt that it was a good one that you could see all the basic techniques. So yeah, after a long number of videos, we're finally at the end. Don't know when I'll be getting the next series done, but till then,